Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing SLAPFACE, streaming on SHUDDER, beginning February 3rd. I misspelled streaming in my notes. It says screaming on SHUDDER, which is kind of appropriate. It's kind of appropriate. All right.
And you asked us to check them too.
That's
We're horrible
on brand.
co-hosts. We're very bad co-hosts.
All right, joining me this week is Crystal Cleveland, Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm just waiting for one of y'all to just slap me so I can slap you back.
You just want to slap us back.
That sounded naughty. That sounded like a good thing.
I'm like, want to slap it?
Save that for OnlyFans.
HR.
Only slaps.
Only slaps. Yep.
Also joining us tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir? No.
Fantastic.
Oh wow. I'm not going to go there. Also joining us, rounding out the crew, is the one and only Dave Dreher. Mohr, he says.
I'm slap happy, Doc. That's all I can say.
Slap happy.
Slap happy. You know, that's a thing.
It is. Yes.
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give our first impressions of SLAPFACE. I almost said slap happy, which would have been funny. First impression of SLAPFACE. That'll be spoiler free, and then we're going to dive into a discussion, and we might drop a spoiler or two during that. It's hard to tell. No, we will. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score of 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. Check them out. And of course, if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend. Yes. And of course, leave your comments down below. What film are we talking about? Let's drop the card. Oh gosh, here it comes. All right. SLAPFACE on SHUDDER, available streaming beginning February 3rd, 2022, written and directed by Jeremiah Kipp. The cast includes August Maturo, Mike Manning, Lib Bearer, Maribel Lee, Dan Hedaya, and Lucas Hassel. Why do I feel like I
That's pretty
did
good.
it? All right.
Yeah.
What came out this time?
Speed bump or two. Synopsis is, after the death of his mother, Lucas, a loner who lives in a rundown home with his brother, Tom, regularly seeks solace in the nearby woods with his only friends, air quote, being a group of female bullies. He keeps to himself most of the time, but after a strange encounter with an inhuman monster, Lucas begins to withdraw from others. When the two reach a tentative trust, the bizarre friendship is born, and Lucas is swept up in a series of primal, we say, adventures.
Ooh, I'd say that's true.
That's a lot. That's a lot of synopsis. They need to go to the George Lucas School of Synopsis. Two boys play SLAPFACE. That's all you would have.
Oh no. No. I think.
Go to Heroes and Droids.
You know which is, yeah.
What? All right, let's get into our reviews. Dave, sir, you are first.
I get to go first. Lucky Dave.
What was your first impression of SLAPFACE?
This is a really odd journey. I actually kind of liked the part. I know we're not supposed to be too spoilery yet, but there's a witch in this.
Oh yeah.
So
it's kind of on the cover, so that's not.
Yeah, that's true. But I kind of enjoyed the witch parts a little bit. But the whole stuff with the brother and the girlfriend, and I mean the fact they all look like they're 14 years old and they're living alone in this shack, and it was just kind of weird. And this whole movie kind of hinged on our lead character, the young boy. And I don't know. I hope he doesn't hear this review. I just didn't feel he was strong enough to kind of pull it off. I couldn't buy into his performance that much, and that just kind of instantly took me out of it. But I did like the stuff with the witch. I liked the stuff with the girlfriend of the older brother. Mm-hmm. I thought she was pretty good. but overall, yeah, it was a weird little tale.
Weird
little tale. Yeah. And I still don't understand why they were playing Slapface. I don't know what that was supposed to accomplish. I don't get it.
It was. I don't think it was meant to accomplish anything.
It's got to accomplish something. I mean,
It was just about abuse.
It's the name of the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. I'm with you, though.
Yeah, but I just don't know, and they inserted it in like really odd places. It's like we've just had this gigantic, dramatic moment. Let's play Slapface.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So yeah, it was oddly written, at times groaningly acted. But at times it wasn't bad all the way around the board, and I did like The Witch. So there you go.
The Witch. All right. Let's find out what the rest of the crew thought, Dave. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, sir. What was your first impression of, dare I say it, Slapface?
Slap Dead Fred.
Slap Dead Fred.
Yeah, this film is like so odd. It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll say it's shot very well. But then the story is just, it's kind of scattered. And it gets to the point to where a lot of the characters are annoying.
Yeah.
So you don't really care about it. And then you have this weird entity that I don't know about you guys, but it just felt very pedophilic to some degree at some point.
Oh, interesting.
It was just, I didn't know if this was like supposed to be some kind of thing about that, or I don't know. I'm just, this movie confused me more than anything.
Okay.
And I don't know what to think about it, but at the same time, I think it didn't make a lot of sense.
But did you think, Christopher? I'm really curious. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your first thoughts.
No,
but he, early in the movie, and again, if this is spoilery, I apologize. But we discover very quickly that his mother has died, and he does that thing outside the abandoned, whatever that is, school or hospital. So I was thinking that
he conjured it.
That he conjured
like a
her,
golem,
like a surrogate mother almost.
Well, and I mean, I kind of think that too, but then.
Okay, wait, we're getting too spoilery.
Yeah, anyway, yeah. But I mean,
I'm like,
I don't know. But the thing is, there's not enough information to really spell out what everything was, and so, and I think, and again, some of the character motivations don't make a lot of sense. The way it plays out doesn't make a lot of sense. And certain situations don't make a lot of sense. And then, so by the end of it, I was like, there's just a bunch of annoying characters running around. And yeah, it's like the it's like the old, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the old football game that vibrated and the things would move. Yeah, and that's what it felt like. All these characters are making all these decisions. Like, I don't understand what's going on here. I mean, I felt like to me there could have been a better way to make the story play out. Because I mean, it was shot well, but again, a lot of the decisions and yeah, some of the characters were just didn't make a. I mean, and then the whole thing's called Slapface, but they never really explained what the heck Slapface is, other than if you do something bad, we're just going to slap the shit out of each other. And to me, I felt like there should have been something even more. And I to be honest, when I saw trailers for it, I thought that was supposed to be the thing, sort of like you look in the mirror and you say Candyman 7 times, and I thought, well, maybe if they slapped each other and then this entity appears, that seemed, in my head, I'd already had this cool idea of what this film was about. It's nothing like that. It's just they just every once in a while, like, you got in trouble, let's just slap the shit out of each other.
Well, they don't even have to get in trouble. They just
yeah.
thing. Yeah. Well, let's find
yeah.
out. Let's
It's
find out.
almost
What
like
the- yeah, let's go.
almost
Let's-
like
Yeah.
There's a lot to unravel. Let's find out what the rest of the crew think. Crystal, you're up next. What was your first impression of Slapface?
Well, the movie does make sense, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. But it does make sense, and I do understand it. However, it doesn't mean that it was the best way to tell the story. This movie is about abuse. That's
And lost.
what it is at the core, and that's all that matters. And okay, I am gonna spoiler alert: the creature is him, obviously.
That's a big
Like,
spoiler. That's a
yeah.
huge spoiler.
But here's the
drop that.
thing: it was obvious to me from the very beginning. Like I was like, oh yeah. I mean, they literally mimic each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super. But that doesn't mean that they're wrong with what they're saying, or they're wrong with what they're saying, because it's confusing. It's kind of told in a very strange way. It doesn't. Seems like there would be simpler ways to tell this story. That's what I'm saying. And also I completely agree with the character motivations, because it's a little silly that this girl would go along with these two sisters throughout all this when they're just so horribly mean. You know, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and I think that the whole meaning of the bullying and the abuse here gets lost in the tale, which unfortunately minimizes its impact. So as much as I wanted to like it, I have to agree that it doesn't have the impact that it should. And I did like the witch creature. Like, she is a full on legit witch, like what you'd think Hansel and Gretel type old school witch. And I love that. I think that was unique. But yeah, it's diluted and convoluted. And I think it could have been much cooler. Like had it been told in a different way, because I love the concept of it. And I love the girlfriend. I think she was actually my favorite character. And she was trying.
Which one? The one with the blue hair? The blue
Oh
skirt?
no, the girlfriend, the brother's girlfriend.
Okay, yeah.
They're such
'Cause
little
there's a couple
kids.
there's a couple
I know,
different
I
girlfriends.
know. They're just such little kids. I have a hard time thinking of them as like girlfriend and boyfriend. But yeah, it's too bad. I mean, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film, but it did get boring at times. And at the end, I was like, oh well, yeah.
All right, well, I'll jump in here and say I like this maybe a little bit more. I like Crystal. I if the story didn't tell me, I came to my own conclusion. So yes, I felt, the metaphor for, loss and abuse. The parents died in front of them. It was very tragic, and the older brother feels responsible. The younger one is just straight out lost. And it seems like the only way they can connect is through this game. And it's both a way for each of them to
Get out their pain.
Get out their pain in a very, abusive manner, very physical manner. And I got the trauma of it, and I was with it, and I thought our characters of Lucas and Tom Augustus. I want to call them Augustus. It's August Maturo and Mike Manning. I actually liked them. I thought they were pretty good. I liked all the cast. I agree that the story is told in an unconventional manner, and it lessens the impact. I see that, but I don't know. I kind of tagged along and went for the ride. And yes, the painful. It's painfully obvious what the twist is, but it was interesting the way they revealed it. So I don't know, I had a better time, I guess. Go figure.
Well,
and usually
okay,
I don't.
So the tagline is, where do monsters come from? And obviously they're made, and that's the whole point of this. Like, he becomes the monster, or he is the monster. And think about, like, his brother slapping him, and he slaps him back, and then he tries it with his girlfriend. It's about repeating the cycle. I mean, I get it. Okay, I get what they were trying to do. Doesn't mean that I just love the way it was done, though. I can't disagree with Christopher and Dave. I do agree with them. It just Yeah.
There's a couple parts where the idea that they're trying to get across with him and the witch or the monster, doesn't necessarily jive in the story, and at least in the story we're being presented, because there's some time and spatial issues that would make it impossible. But at the same time, there's some elements of it that they're just, he's so oblivious to what's happening, and he sees it as something else, and it's I don't know, I like the complexity of that.
Well, you're almost dealing with the DID, dissociative identity disorder, which would make sense because that stems from trauma. I mean, there's debate as to whether, all of that exists or whatever, but that's irrelevant to this. But yeah, I do think the kid was precious, and like I said, I feel like I really didn't want what happened to happen. And I feel like it was kind of unwarranted, even though it was kind of, I don't know. I just,
Yeah, there's one part. It's like, so how did the jail cell scene actually go?
Oh, I know.
That doesn't entirely make sense, but so there are some reaches, and I think maybe Christopher, Dave, that's what you're reacting to.
Yeah, I never picked up on he was the monster thing. I mean, now that you've explained it, it does make sense. But really, it shouldn't have to be explained. I don't know if it just means I'm dumb, or
you're not dumb.
Or they did a bad job of
well,
relating.
they always, it was just implied. It was always implied, even at the end when he looks down and
the monster's not
the
there.
Monster's gone.
But when the monster when he would get hit, the monster would move and get hit too.
Yeah.
Toward the end, and then even there's they actually drop kind of hints throughout.
You're saying the monster wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I went more for the surrogate mother route, that he had latched onto this witch.
I saw him as being part of it, but I think there's too many situations that don't make a lot of sense to where he could have.
That's
done
what
that.
Doc was saying too.
Yeah,
the whole police scene. There's no way. I'm sorry. That's
but
ridiculous.
I don't know that the police scene happened the way that.
Oh, so we were seeing it through his eyes.
He's an unreliable narrator as well.
That's
an easy way to.
Of course he is, though, because I mean, he had the gun in his stuffed animal, which he shouldn't have had the gun. I mean, I could go through and nitpick it all and explain, but he's an unreliable narrator. And that's part, I hate unreliable narrators. Like Doc knows, I'm like, I don't mind it to a small degree, but once you get to the point where you basically can't trust the narrator at all, what's the point of the story? Because nothing makes sense then.
It'd be interesting to talk to the filmmakers and find out where they're actually heading with things.
Yeah. So, like, what are you guys talking about? Of course they're for the monster.
Or they'll just be like David Lynch. It's like, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, well, that's probably what they'll do.
It's whatever you want it to be.
I don't know. I just feel like there's other movies that did this a whole lot better. Like Daniel Isn't Real or stuff like that when it deals with
for sure.
Sort of like what, and that's why I made the sort of Drop Dead Fred reference, because this feels like that, to where they're just sort of. But again, a lot of it's. I almost feel like that. To me, if it's him, that I really don't. I like it even less, because I think I'd love. I mean, I feel like that. It's interesting if you have some kind of supernatural entity and it brings out your worst proclivities and certain issues and stuff. That seems more interesting to me. And then when you sort of you make the realize that you've brought out this evil in you is brought out, in you. I mean, although to me, he was almost like beginning to turn into like almost like a serial killer or something. He had that. Did you see that book they opened up? It had like drawings of a vagina.
Yeah. She found it in the room. Yeah, I was like,
yikes.
Oh no. He got upset when he found out that she'd seen it. I will admit that for a short
kind of the point.
Yeah, for a short period of time, given the story that they turned around and the mother was no longer there when she died, because they crashed into the river. That for a short period of time, I thought the monster was his mother. was the mother, and she'd been like weirdly hiding out in this abandoned property for a long time, not knowing who she was. But I quickly dropped that. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting.
Well, to me, I feel like it's like when people try to, when the whole story of when people try to contact people through like witch boards and stuff, and they think they're talking to some innocent little boy, but it ends up being some demon or something. This is how I feel like that. They sort of like, you have some supernatural entity that tricks them into thinking I'm like your mom figure, even though it looks more like the evil witch from Snow White.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which to me, I didn't really like the mask of it. I mean,
Really?
I think the movement of the character
cool.
worked, which that's actually played by a guy, Lucas Hassel, who's an
he
actor.
must be so
that was the
tall.
witch, really?
Yeah,
And
that
that's
makes
right,
sense.
because he's a really tall dude.
Mhm.
He's this tall European-looking dude who's like very handsome and stuff. And it's like, so it's weird seeing him playing this really sort of ugly, haggish type character. But and I think the movement and stuff of it was kind of creepy. But I don't know. That to me, it almost, again, it felt like it was moving into more pedophilic, because the whole bathtub scene was, I'm not sure what to think about that. That was very creepy. But in the kind of like, ooh, I'm a grown adult getting in a tub with this little boy, and I was like, ooh, I don't know what to think about this. But I don't know. I think the boy got better as the movie went along, but the boy annoyed me so much. I didn't really care what was happening to him.
Yeah,
And then,
I had a problem with that as well.
and these other kids
Yeah.
were just so, and as sweet as that one girl was, she was still like allowing these other people to be sort of mean. So she was,
Yeah,
like,
that's
so
what upset me
two-faced.
about her. I know.
And so and even his brother, who I feel like he microblades his eyebrows, because I kept looking, his eyebrows were just too tidy, and I was like, why am I focusing on this?
I didn't even notice them.
Because I feel like this guy who's working this job in mine or whatever, he's just got, his eyebrows are so like just too expertly.
Now I
crafted.
gotta look it up. Damn it.
But yeah, his brother was such an asshole. I mean, and yeah, I can understand the abuse type thing, which makes more sense, I guess, now. But I almost feel like there should have been more. I feel like there should have been more explanation behind that, or something. What was the impetus behind that? Unless it's because I kept thinking like, oh, maybe the dad slapped the shit out of him, that they kept implying that or something. But I don't know. I mean, I see your point with that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I see the point too. I think I'm more with you though, Christopher. I don't know that I buy into it. That's what it was, but I'd like to know for sure.
Yeah,
I think it works better with Crystal's explanation than it does with what I thought I seen.
It does, but I almost feel like to think that some supernatural entity could bring out that little part of him that's probably was in his abusive dad or whatever. It seems that's more of an interesting concept than anything. Because then,
I think that's more of an interesting concept for sure.
Yeah,
and I do wish that was the way it was supposed to be. Actually, that would be more entertaining. I just, you don't want to think of this little boy as being.
Well, it's like Slap Club.
Oh my God.
We don't talk about Slap Club.
First rule of Slap Club.
First rule of Slap Club is
Slap Cub.
Slap Club, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fair abuse.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And Dave, sir, you know the drill. You're up first.
I know the drill. Yeah, I didn't hate this movie. I really didn't. And after having our little conversation here, I'm beginning to think maybe I completely misunderstood it. I may actually watch it another time with a different frame of mind and see if that does anything for me. But it's definitely flawed on many levels, no matter how you look at it. But I thought the witch was good. I did enjoy the parts with the witch, and we get a little bit of blood, not a lot of blood, but we get some. That end scene there in the police station is pretty bloody. Mm-hmm. If it actually happened, we don't really know now. But I'm going to give it a 3.
Oh.
And my favorite scene, I think this was the best scene in the whole thing. Actually, was the scene where the brother the two brothers are having the conversation, and the witch is in the house. And,
Yes.
and she's coming up behind the brother, and the little boy sees him, but the big brother don't. And that's the scene you were talking about, Christopher, where he's every time the boy gets slapped, the witch gets slapped, and then he reaches up at the last minute and hugs him and says he loves him, and the witch backs off. But I thought that was actually well acted, well shot. It was just a very solid all around scene. We needed about another hour and 20 minutes
Of that?
of scenes like
Okay.
that.
There you go. All right, Christopher, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Yeah, SLAPFACE slapped me confused. I mean, after listening to what Crystal and Doc have said, I mean, I can sort of have a better grasp of what it is, but then at the same time, I'm one of those people where sometimes unreliable narratives or narrators annoy me. Because then like Crystal said, it's what's the use in watching this if none of it is reliable. And I like things like Fight Club I enjoy, or Daniel Isn't Real, when it comes to the sort of like extension of the person type things.
Yep.
But and I will say, as much as most of the characters annoyed me, the only character that didn't annoy me is the girlfriend who came in. Although I felt it was very rushed. 1 minute she's hanging at the bar, next minute she's making eggs and stuff for them. It's kind of rushed. But I liked her. But yeah, I don't know. I mean it's got a really sort of nice visual ending to it. And I think the little boy got better as the film went along. I think the last third of it is more interesting. Somebody's screaming.
Somebody's
Yeah,
screaming.
sorry.
Okay. Like,
I'm
oh
sorry.
my
I
God.
heard it too. And it's.
That's what we get for talking about slap.
I guess I'm gonna have to go slap some.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess, and again,
That's not fun. I'm sorry. That's not
That's
funny.
okay.
Abuse is not funny.
No,
I
no.
need to say that. Okay. I just want that to be very clear. I was
No.
joking, just in case. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's in context.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an odd film that a lot of the motivations of the characters are kind of odd and weird, and it doesn't really gel. But it's shot very well, and it's got some nice moments in it. I think just overall, it's I don't know. It's a little bit. It's a little jello-ish. it's a little jiggly. It's a little jiggly with its characters and narratives. And there I go, adding a food analogy. You can take your drinks if that's your drinking game. So as for rating, I'll probably give it a 3 as well. I don't hate it. I think I was just more like, whoa, throughout.
A 3's good. Like y'all are. That's solid.
And yeah, so it's just, to me, I guess I just had a hard time understanding it. It didn't make a lot of sense to where this little creepy crone would jump out and, ooh, let me grab you and run off with you. And I don't know, it just felt very weird. But as for favorite scene, I think it's probably when the girlfriend gets attacked. She's holding the gun, because I love that sort of visual look of when these like almost like tree branches or something come out from behind, and
those spiky things.
Yeah, whatever that. It almost like it was part of like the earth or whatever. I don't know what it was. It felt very tree branchy, whatever it was. And then attacked her. I really like that. That's probably the scene that sort of stuck out to me visually that I kind of liked. So yeah, that's my favorite scene.
Very good. Very good. All right, Crystal, let us have it.
So if the police scene happened, then how did they have all the police at the end? I'm just saying.
Well, there was at least one person that got murdered because they had him in a black bag coming down the steps when the brother was there. So at least one person got hurt.
Yeah. No. I mean, how were there all those police there at the end if they got murked?
Well,
You see.
Not everybody's in the office at the
Because
time.
it
But they are there
didn't
doing their job, right?
happen. It didn't happen.
There
is
was
what
only
I'm
two
saying.
officers. It's not every
That's-
officer is going to be in the building at the same time. Otherwise,
This
they're not
is a
would be
small
officers.
town. Have you ever watched Longmire? This
That-
is a small town. Okay, small town.
Longmire.
I grew up in a small town. A lot of
Are we
them hang out in
referencing
the police
Longmire?
department.
Yes, I am. No, I'm just kidding. I'm making a joke. But so I agree and concur with everyone's analysis of this. It's a tough one because I think the message is good, and I like that, you know, that we have movies about this, and the idea of abuse can be as subtle as playing a game, you know, that they play. But wow, what a sad little boy. I'm gonna give it a 3.25.
Oh,
So that's
nice.
like, yeah, them giving it 3, I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty solid to me. And I think one of my favorite scenes is, and when I really knew it was him for some reason, I don't know why this struck me, is when they thrashed the house together.
Ah, yeah, that was. Yes.
I was like, oh, yeah. That it was when it really solidified that they were one. They were the same. Why do I have my handcuffs like in view here? Okay, sorry. I just noticed that. That was odd.
Now we know what the yelling was coming from.
Yeah.
No.
My bad. Okay.
All right. Well,
Bye.
I'll pick this up real quick. Yeah. So it was either him or an supernatural extension of him, something along those lines. But I said my piece, so I'll keep it short. Kind of dug it. So 3.25 for me as well. My favorite scene is going to be when he separates out the toys into the red and the green ones, and he basically asks, are you good or are you evil? And he's trying to reconcile what's going on, and I think he's actually, in my mindset where he was he's trying to figure out himself.
Yeah.
And
I've thought, am I a good person or a bad person? I mean, it's revelation. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was digging that. So anyway, that's where I'll go. I'll keep it short. Do that. And
I love that. That was a great scene. And I think there's a lot to this movie. There's a lot. I think some people are just going to really love it. I just don't know if we were the right ones.
Maybe not. All right. Well, there you go. That's our review of SLAPFACE. Look for it on Shudder starting February 3rd. Crystal, Christopher, Dave. Of course, Dave. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, Doc.
Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.